In this video, we'll be talking about file handling. We're going to look at how to work with some file functions in PHP, and I think it's very important. So let's get to it without wasting much time. Now I'm going to do a save as here, and this time I'm going to save in a different folder that I created called files. I'll change this to files1. They just got our files1, the PHP, and I'll change my title tag to files, let's say file handling. Now I'm going to remove all of this. Now we'll be talking about basically three things, or we're going to start with three things in file handling, which is writing. We're going to look at how to write to a file, and then we'll look at how to read from a file, and then we'll look at how to append to a file. Okay, we'll look at how to append to a file. Now these three things are very important, so we'll quickly look at how to write to a file in this video. Then in subsequent video we'll look at the other two and touch some other things about file handling, then we'll be done with that. Now I'm quickly going to create a variable. Let's call this let's just call it file, and let's assign it to fopen. Okay, now this is a function that opens a file in PHP. Now even though the file is not created, okay, we don't have any file that is being created, so we're going to use the function. Now if the function discovers that there's no file like that, then it creates it and then does what it's supposed to do in the file. Okay, so we are quickly going to write the name of the file. Okay, now the name of our file will be lists. Okay, list.txt, and then secondly we will write. Okay, so you write the file, okay, specify the name of the file, and then you tell it what you want to do with the file. Are you writing to the file, which is W, if you're reading from the file, which is R, or appending to the file, which is A. Okay, we are going to use a function called fwrite to write to the file. And now what are you writing? Now the fwrite function carries two arguments, and the first one is the handle that holds the file, or the file that you're writing to. In this case, we've assigned that to a handle called file. Okay, so in here we're going to have file. Okay, let me remove the quotes from there. And then secondly is what you're writing to the file. Okay, now we're writing datums. That is what we want to write to the file, and then we'll quickly put a semicolon there. Okay, let's check this and see if we are correct. So we'll go to a browser. Now in this case we have a folder called files. Okay, files, sorry. We have a folder called file, and inside that folder we have a file called files1.php. Now let's click on this. You discover that nothing happens. Okay, it shows us a blank screen. Now when we go back and you discover that the file we created called list.txt has been created for us, and when you check on that, you discover that the name datums has been written into the file, just like we did here. Okay, so you can use this function to write for as many times as you want to write to the file. There's just no problem with that. Now we want to write another name. For instance, let's say OKSon, and then we'll save that. Go to your browser, go back, click on this. Okay, go back and then click on list, and you see we have datums OKSon. Now what if you want this to be on two different lines? What are you going to do? Now the first thing you are going to do is to append this to line. Okay, now this in PHP is almost similar to the break tag in HTML. Okay, it moves you to the next line. Okay, now let's check that and see if we are actually correct. Okay, list, and you see datums OKSon on two different lines. Now that is basically how to write to a file in PHP. In our next video, we'll be looking at how to read from a file. Now we're going to look at how to append to a file, but before we do that, I'll quickly like to update you on something from the last video. Now mind you that if you happen to erase this, for instance, let's erase this and write something else. Let's say we happen to write Fiverr, for instance. Now if we check that in our browser, you discover that it removes the other two that we wrote and then write the Fiverr that was written here in our editor. Okay, now what the write does, or what the write function does in file handling, is it writes to a file. Okay, now if you rewrite again, it does not update the file. It's erase the initial write up in the file and write a fresh thing given to it. Okay, in this case Fiverr, it cleaned Thomas Okesin, or that Thomas Okesin rather, and wrote what? Fiverr. Okay, now if you want to update your file, you have to use the append function, that is A instead of the W. Okay, now that is how the append function works. I don't know if we get that. Now the only thing that have to be changed here is append. You still use the fwrite function to write to the file. Now in this case we write in Fiverr. Okay, now let's copy that and paste it a couple of times. Okay, now we're writing Fiverr 4 times. Let's save that. Go to a browser, go back, click on files.php and go back and click on list.php. Now you see the list of Fiverrs right there, or Fiverr, some of you might say. Now let's go back and erase this. Okay, and let's paste it with something new. Now let's say we are writing a datums universal. Okay, here we're writing team for instance, and here we have OKSON. Okay, let's save that, go to a browser, check on this, and then check on our list.txt, and you discover that it does not work like the W. Okay, it now appends, it updated the lists. Okay, now let's quickly try this with our a real live pattern. Now let's erase all of this. Let's quickly create a form right here. Let's create a form. Let's put a BR tag there, and then we have our form. Okay, now let's refresh our page and see what we get. Okay, that's a nice looking form that we have there. Let's quickly delete the file list.txt. Okay, we want to try something new, and then let's quickly come back here and let's remove this for now. Now we want to use an if else statement to tell PHP that if this is set, okay, if name is set, then it should do something else. It should echo something back to the user. Okay, now let's quickly do that. Now I want to say if is set, okay, posts, okay, variable underscore posts. Okay, now let's try this. Now what I just did here is I took the name here, assigned it to a variable. We did that in previous videos using the post method, and then we check if this is set. Okay, now if it's set, it should move to the next line. Check if it's empty. Now if it's not empty, then it should do all of this. Now it should create a file called list.txt and append to the file. Okay, now what it will do is it should write to the file whatever is being fed in here, which is what we assign to the form input here, and then we'll concatenate that with a tag, a break tag, or a slash like this, okay, so as to move to the always move to the next line when a name is being written in it. Okay, so now if the whole thing is successful, it should echo entrance successful, but if it's not successful, then it should echo entrance not successful. So let's try that and see. Now if we go back, we discover that our files1.php is the only thing we have here because we recently deleted our list.txt. But now let's click on that and we'll see that the only thing we have here is our form. Let's write something here. Now we have universal, for instance, and you see entrance successful. Let's write something else. Let's write team, and you see entrance successful. Let's write Fiverr, and you see entrance successful. Okay, now there are many things there you can write. Let's write datums, and one more time let's write something else. Entrance successful. Now if you go back to our files folder, okay, now you discover that the text file has been created, and if you open that, you discover that the whole thing we've been writing is being being appended in our created file. Okay, so take a good look at the video and understand what we did here. I'll see you in the next video. Now, still on what we're doing, this time we are going to look at how to read from a file and echo it back to the user or give it back to the user. Now we're quickly going to do this one without wasting much time, and we're going to start here. Okay, now the function used, first of all, let's close this file. Let's use fclose, okay, to close the handle, which is file. Okay, so the next line we are going to create a file, or we're going to create another variable. This time let's call it read. Okay, let's call it read, and we're trying to read from the file, and the file name is list.txt. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is we are going to use for each statement to display the list of names in the file to the user. Okay, and to do that, we're simply going to do it like this. Now we're going to say for each read as let's give it another variable called sRead. Okay, for each read as sRead, we want it to echo sRead. Okay, we want to echo sRead and append it to a comma and a space. Okay, I think that is the only thing. Now let's quickly check this and see what we'll get. Now let's go back to our file. Let's do files.php. Did I save that? Let me do a Ctrl S there. Now refresh this and let's write a name. Let's say Thomas, and now you see universal team blah blah blah, and now this is what it echoed. It says successful entrance, and we are quickly going to remove that right here. Okay, so that we'll get what we're doing. Now it's a successful read, and from what we did here, if we type another name, let's say blessing, and you see your file or the list of names in the file is being echoed at the top of the file. Now if you look at that very well, you see universal space comma space. We are going to treat that very quickly, and to treat that we will use the trim function. Now we'll trim that. Okay, and we'll concatenate it with that. Let's check that very quickly and see if we are right. Let me do a save. Go to a browser, files.php. Now let's add Clement. Let's say Clement, and then you see that a space after the name is now removed. Now we have a nicely written list of names. Now we want to remove the comma at the last name because it's the last name, so we don't need a comma there. So we quickly treat that as well. Now to treat that, we will assign, or now to do that, we will assign a count value here, and we'll assign another variable to count the number of names in the file. Okay, so we assign that to read count right here, and we use the function count to count the names in the file, which is the read variable here. We are going to remove this for now. Okay, we are going to remove that, and we'll use an if statement to check. Say if, now we say if count, okay, we say if count is less than read count. What we want to do now is to echo now if count is less than read count, that is if this is less than this, okay, it should echo the comma. Okay, that means when it gets to the point where this is greater than this, then it will not echo the comma. So at this point we are going to put our count plus plus, okay, so that if it reads, it increments and reads, then increments until it reads the whole names in the file, where this will not be greater than this, okay, or this will be greater than this, and then it will not put any comma. If you don't understand that, you can pause the video and look at the code very well, but let's check that in our browser and see if our code is correct. Let's go there and we'll see our form. Now let's add a name to it. Let's say Fiverr, and you see you have a fine arranged list of names, and at the end there's no comma there. Okay, so that is how to read from a file, and that is how to display it to the user. Okay, so take a good look at the code. If you don't understand it, you can pause the video and study it very well. It's well arranged and everything is in place. Now we are going to be looking at how to list the files in a folder, or to list the files in the folder, and we are going to be using quite some new functions here, built-in functions in PHP, and as you already know, we are going to be using a loop. Since we are listing, you know, we have to loop till it lists all the files. Okay, so let me quickly do a save as here, and save as, and let me call this, I'll save it in here, and I'll call it file.php. Now I'll change the title here to file listing. Okay, and I'm just going to remove all of this for now. Okay, now let's first of all assign our files. Let's assign it to a variable. Okay, and let's call that variable directory. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use an if statement to open the directory and try to see what is inside the directory. Now in our directory, what we have there is, let me quickly show you that. Now we have 3 files in our directory. Okay, there are text files, first file, second file, and third file. Okay, now we want to list all these files here, and use PHP to kind of see if we can make them turn to a hyperlink, a clickable hyperlink that shows us what is inside the file. Okay, so let's quickly see how we can use our if statement to do that. Now we'll say if, let's assign another variable, let's call it handle. Now if handle is equal to open directory, okay, that's a built-in function, open directory. Now what are we opening? We are trying to open what? The files. Okay, now open directory, and since we've assigned our file to a variable, we'll just call on the variable, which is directory, and we'll append it to a slash. Okay, we'll append it to a slash, and I think that's it for now. Then now what we want is, now if this is true, okay, if this argument here is true, then we want it to echo something. We want it to echo looking inside directory. Okay, and let's say looking inside directory, and let's put our $sign there, like that. Then we're going to use a single quotes around that. Okay, and let's escape that, like that. Now let's save that and put my delimiter there, and let's check and see if our code actually work. Now the name of our file is file.php, and you see looking inside directory. We need to make this look normal. Let's go back and remove the single quotes. Okay, now we'll refresh that. Now you see looking inside files. Okay, now since the directory is files, now it's looking inside files. Okay, yeah, looking inside files. So now what we're going to do now is we want to actually check to see if we can look through the content of that folder, so it gives us a list of all the files, and then finally we'll see if we can make them clickable hyperlinks that can link to the content of the file. Okay, now let's quickly append this to a break tag. Okay, so that it takes us to the next line. Now the next thing we are going to do, like I said, is we are going to use a while loop. While file, let's call another function called file. We'll assign that to file. Now while file is a read directory, which is an inbuilt function to read in a particular, or to read the files in a particular directory, and we've already assigned, or we've opened our directory using the handle variable, so we call on that. Now handle, now what do we want to do now? If that is true, we want to first of all echo the files in the directory. Okay, now the way we're going to do it is we are going to echo file. Let's echo file. Okay, and let's see, let's append that to a break tag, br there, like that. Now let's refresh that and see. Very good. Now you see our files are listed. You see first file.txt, second file.txt, and third file.txt. now, but on top there you see the two dots and then the single dot. Now that is telling you that, you know, that is the normal way that a directory looks. Okay, if you navigate into a directory, or you want to, you know, navigate to a directory, you see that single dot and two dots to tell you that there are other folders before that particular file. Okay, so if we've checked to see, and our files were listed for us just like we initially expected. Now what we're going to do is we actually want to check to see if and saw our files here. We want to first of all remove the two dots and the single dot, and then lastly we'll try to make that file a clickable hyperlink. Okay, so now the first thing first, we're going to what? Remove the single dot and the two dot. Now to do that, we'll use an if statement. Now we'll say if. Now inside the while loop, we'll use the if statement. Okay, now if file is not equal to, if it's not equal to a single dot, okay, written like this, and if file, let me give space for that on that so that it will be more neat, is not equal to double dots like this. Okay, now we want it to do something. Okay, now what we want it to do is we want it to echo this. That means we'll have to put another curly brace here, and then we'll move this once. Now let's save that and see if our code is correct. Now I'll refresh that, and you see the single dot and the double dots are gone, and we'll have just our listed files. I don't know if you get that, but if you don't, take a close look at the code and then try to understand what we're doing here. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we want to make those files a clickable link, so that once you click on them, they become what? A hyperlink that takes you to display the content of the folder or the content of that particular file. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is, before we echo, or we are going to echo the file as a href. Okay, if you do HTML, you know what a href is. Now a href is more like assigning a hyperlink to a particular word. Okay, so we are going to do that on line 16 here. Okay, we're going to update line 16 and make it a word, a href. So now to do that, we are going to write it like this using our anchor tag. Now a href, okay, is equal to, is always in double quotes, but let's do it like this. Now it's equal to directory. Now I'll explain this after typing. Okay, just follow along. It's equal to directory. Okay, and then we'll append it to, let's append this also like this, and then we'll say file. We'll append that to file. Okay, and then we'll still append that to this and this. Then we'll close our href here. Okay, now let me look at that. Now the next thing is, this is what we are linking to. Okay, now we need to write what we are linking. Okay, we are linking to this. Then where are we linking from? Now we are linking from our file. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. We are linking from our file, so that will be written like this. So we'll write that, we'll append it to file. Okay, and we'll append it to this. Then we'll have our closing anchor tag there, and then a break tag. I think this is it. Now let's quickly check that to see if it works. Then I'll explain it and tell you what we did there. Very good. Now you discover that when we click on this, it shows us what is inside. You click on this, it shows us what is inside. You click on this, it shows us what is inside. Now what we did here was, you know, in a normal in a normal HTML tag, you say your anchor tag written like this. You say ahref. Okay, just follow along. We're trying to explain something. Now the first thing you're going to do is you try to write where you are linking to. Okay, now this is a directory. I don't know if you get that. This is a directory. Okay, we open a directory here and we assign that with a variable called directory. So it's more like directory slash the file. Okay, now in this case the file is first file .txt, second file .txt. So you have directory. So the directory now will be all the way from your C, okay, semicolon slash, okay, it navigates up to the point where that particular file is. So the dollar directory here takes care of a directory right from the local drive C up to the point where this file is located, then this one calls on the file. So now all this here becomes where you are linking to, and then the file is where you are linking from. Then this closes our anchor tag and we'll have a break tag here. Okay, so now we discover that when you check that, your code comes out perfectly well and is working without errors. Okay, now if you don't understand that, take a very good look at the code. It's very understandable, and then it can be used in real life examples, especially when you want to maybe you have an image gallery and you want to list the files or the images in your gallery. I think this is one of the easiest ways to do that. So take a very good look at the code, understand it, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll be looking at how to delete and rename files in a directory. Now we are quickly going to look at how to delete a file. Now I'll go back here and I'll do, okay, no need to do a save as, and let's just call this file delete here. Okay, I'll save that, and I'll just have to remove all of this. Okay, let me paste it somewhere, and I'll remove the form down here. Okay, we have lists.txt. okay, so let's quickly assign, or let's assign that to a variable. Now let's say file is equal to lists.txt. okay, that's our file. Now to delete this file, you might want to use a function called the onLink. okay, now we will say onLink file. okay, onLink file. Now if we use an if else statement, we can decide to give it two options, like if the onLink file is true, okay, then it can decide to delete the file. Let's quickly write that. Now if onLink file, then we can echo file was successfully deleted. Okay, now if that's not the case, like else, we can say echo file was not deleted. Okay, now this is a very simple if else statement. Now let's check this and see if our code is correct. Now the onLink function there is used, and mind you, this code can only be run once, because once you delete the file, if you run the code again, you're going to get an error, because as of then the file will not be able to be located in a directory. For that reason, it will then echo an error since it cannot find the file. So let's save that. Go to our browser. So let's go to file1.php. okay, let's check the name of that. files1. okay, you see file was successfully deleted. Okay, so if you go back to your files directory, you discover that the file list.txt is not there anymore. If you try to run this PHP code, you discover that you get an error. Okay, now but to remove this error and from here and make our own else statement display without the error, then you have to add an @ symbol here, just like we did in some videos back, and then you run the code again and you see that the error has been removed. We just left with our echo statement from our else part of our if statement. Okay, so that is how to delete a file from a directory using PHP or from a folder using PHP. In our next video, we'll quickly look at how to rename files. Welcome back. Now we'll be looking at how to rename a file. So let's quickly create a file here. Let's say okay, let me bring one of these ones here. Okay, we have first file.txt. now we can rename that from first file, so we change this here to first file. Okay, so that's first file.txt. now we'll still use our if else statement, so I'm just going to delete all of this, and we want to rename our file to a random number for security reasons. So to do that, we are going to assign that random number to a variable. Let's call it rand. Okay, and the random number function is written as rand, and it carries two arguments, which is the smaller number and the two numbers that PHP will look in between to generate a random number. Okay, so I want mine to be 10,000 and 99,999. Okay, and that is the random number. So now we want to rename our file, so we'll say if rename. The function to use here is rename. So if rename, and it carries two functions, of which the first one is the file you are renaming, and then the second one is what you are renaming it to. Okay, so in this case we are renaming to rand. Okay, we're renaming to rand, and then we'll concatenate that with the extension, which is the txt. And so if that is true, we're going to echo file was renamed successfully, and we'll concatenate that with we'll say old name. Okay, we'll say old name, then we'll do old name will be file. Okay, like this, and then a new name will be rand. So this is how our code is going to look like. Then if that is not the case, then it should echo error renaming file. Yeah, so put that there, and we'll Control S, and let's see how that works. So we are on files1.php. But first of all, let me show you what happens here. You discover that we have our first file.txt. So now we'll click on files1. We have an error on line 12. So let's quickly see what is happening on line 12. Echo, here we'll echo error renaming file. I think that was okay. So let's go back, and let's click on files1.php, and you see our file was renamed successfully. Old name first file.txt, and new name is 40190. And now we forgot to add our extension here on the echo statement, but if you check on the file itself, I think we don't have a problem with that, because here you have 40190.txt. so here we will add a .txt. Okay, so that's a .txt there in concatenation with this, and here we are going to add a rand.txt as well. So let's do that again. We'll refresh this, and we'll click on files1.php, error renaming file. Okay, that's because our file has been changed from first file to this 40190.txt. So I'll quickly change that here. 40190. Okay, so now let's do a Control S, go to browser, refresh, and click on that, you see your file was rendered successfully. Old name is this and new name is this. I think our code is now correct without errors. When you go back, you discover that that is how it works. Okay, you can still make this a dynamic stuff, that it collects any name given to the file and then it tries to change it dynamically without you writing the names continually like that.